Hello everyone, welcome to another Fauntroy comic speed drawing. Today we are working on a commission actually. One of my coworkers requested a Bowsette design for he's planning on putting it on his car, so I can't wait to see how this goes. I'm changing, not changing, but I'm, working on solidifying the format of how I'm going to be doing these, speed drawings. If you all are happy with, my rambling and, my random subject matters, I like to hear more feedback. So I worked on sketching this one out while I was at work. I had a lot of fun working on it because considering that I don't really go for an anime style. So it's really fun to kind of step out of your comfort zone every now and then, especially when you actually have some type of success with it. So like I said, I was. This is a commission of a coworker. It's actually going to be a series of 3 drawings. This is just the first one. It took me a while to get this one, up and running because I'm working a full-time job, and when I say full-time, I'm talking 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's a pretty full schedule. So I do get a chance to draw, but it's hard for me to dedicate, hours into it after work, considering that, you get home, you gotta, shower and all of that stuff or whatever just to go to bed and then get up and do it over again. So, it's rare that I get a chance to actually work on these things, but I'm glad that I'm back. So I'm working on Bowsette. I really wanted to, I wanted to make her black, and that's kind of what I was going for. Gave her some nice, thick, curly, coarse hair. Gave her some hips, the stuff that I would give, my black drawings. But yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. But on another note, last week was stressful. God damn, that was the longest damn election I've ever freaking faced. It started for like it was a long week, and for those who are just as relieved as I am on the results, because it's been a very, very, very long 4 years. As a citizen, young citizen, and a young citizen of color with, let's be honest, not many of us have, that type of money to try to survive, through the turmoil that we had to deal with. I didn't see myself being able to, I didn't see how we was going to be able to survive another 4 years with 45 in office. It's been stressful. If you could just recount all the crap that we had to deal with on the daily and sometimes weekly basis. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, weekly basis of Orange's campaign. Not campaign, his term in office. It's always just been something, from ICE separating families to him wanting to I guess rekindle some type of beef between North Korea and the US. What else? We did an airstrike. I forgot exactly what Muslim group in the Middle East that ended up losing their leader, and we were responsible for it. So that was stirring up more shit that we didn't need. COVID lasting way too long, according to global standards. Other countries are back to normal and completely fine, and we're still walking around like like idiots with masks on our faces. And when I say idiots, I'm not saying you're stupid for wearing a mask. I'm saying that we should have been able to fix this. It shouldn't have lasted this long. Like seeing other countries just go back to normal and basically just kind of like waiting for us, like, okay, what are y'all doing? What is the issue? It's been a long 4 years. And when I say finally we could get back to some form of normalcy. Now, I'm not saying that everything's going to be great. When this country, I don't think there's ever a such thing as everything's going to be great. But I feel like things could be a little bit better than what they were for the past couple years. I really hope that this country could, figure out a way to try to not come to terms, but I feel like this country has been the most divided I've ever seen in a long time. Well, since I've been alive, and I'm 31. I haven't seen so much blatant and hatred, racism, in this country since then. Well, since the history books, shall I say. It's good to see everything's normal again. So back to this dusty ass election that we just had. Kanye West. Nah. So Kanye West garnered 60,000 votes, which, to keep it a buck with you, that's a lot better than I thought he was going to get. A lot better. I was like, oh shoot, people are actually voting for him. So, whatever. And I'm not laughing at the attempt. Okay. I'm not laughing at the attempt specifically. I will never, when it comes to people trying to pursue something outside of what we're expecting them to pursue, I don't really laugh at that too much. Unless it's something that they've proven that they just don't have a fucking talent for. But my concern is that it seems just so random. Like, for someone who is always considered a genius and always considered some type of, methodical person, whatever, it just seems so random and off the cuff, like, of all things to plot out and to, try to plan out completely. I feel like a presidential election is definitely something that you should, take a little more seriously. If he really wanted to hit the campaign trail, I would have suggested, remember back in 2018 or 2019 when he did those series of albums. He actually did an album himself, and I feel like that would have been perfect for his campaign trail, or at least being able to get the message out. You have a lot of presidential candidates that they do events and they host rallies and yada yada yada, but not one of them are able to say that they have an album under their belt and they say, yeah, my rally is an album, or my and yeah, it could have been, while I'm thinking about it, it could have been gross. It could have been really disgusting. I'm like, Kanye West have proven to me that he will try to monetize almost anything. Okay. And when I say anything, I mean anything. Him being bipolar and all of that stuff or whatever, it just, it's a difference between, hey, this is just who I am, or like that. I'm working on it, but this is just who I am. So I'm just letting y'all know. And I'm turning that into some type of positive message, or I'm just, spreading awareness about it. But it seemed like he just, he tries to figure out some type of way to monetize these things. And that's the part that's really disgusting about it. Like, I hate it when something that doesn't seem like it should have been monetized, or something that it's just like it don't need to be, and you're just trying to figure out some type of way to milk to milk money out of it. But he could have very easily turned his campaign into like a release. He could have said hey, my soapbox is on my albums, like I'm going to do X, Y, and Z or whatever. And if you really are serious about this, like, take this shit seriously. We just got rid of one fucking asshole who didn't take this seriously. So the last thing we need is another, especially considering that if we just came off of Barack Obama 4 years ago, and in my eyes, he did his best in a lot of ways to try to just make sure that everyone was satisfied. Democrat, Republican, black, white, like he did his best to try to keep everyone satisfied, and he still got shitted on. So the last thing we need is a black president, a second black president to come right behind Barack Obama just to look like shit. He's like, see, told you that they can't. Yeah, you know what I mean. But Kanye West could have very easily turned this into something better. He's a stark contrast to the Kanye West that we've all witnessed 5 years ago. College Dropout, I know that wasn't 5 years ago, but this is just a ballpark of the last version of Kanye West that I relatively appreciated. College Dropout, Watch the Throne. I don't know what he really stands for outside of his family and his ego, but if he was as smart as he claims, he would have made this into something, like he would have made this into something. But it's really, I guess this could be the bipolar in him, but it's really difficult to try to as someone who used to be a huge fan of his, to really figure out, what the hell I should be expecting around him. Now, while I'm talking about Kanye, I really like to say that I was a huge fan of his from the get-go, and Watch the Throne. I didn't give up on Life of Pablo, but that was the last one that I was just like, all right, I liked this one, but I don't really imagine too many good albums coming after this, especially concerning that you have so much talent around you, and this talent just doesn't seem to be flourishing as it should. Like, I remember back when, I can't remember exactly what year that was, but when I got a chance to learn who's under good music, and I learned it was like Pusha T, Common, Kid Cudi, Big Sean, I think John Legend, but that wasn't really a big pop or whatever like that, at least to me. 2 Chainz, like all of this freaking talent, and they're paired up with one of the best like producers of and kind of no time out. I can't keep saying one of the best producers. He one of the most renowned producers of this generation. Okay, there's a bunch of great producers, and it's frustrating that we just keep mentioning Kanye West as if he's just standing in this realm alone of producers. No, there's a bunch of great fucking producers. Okay, Harry Fraud, I love to hear. Alchemist, Metro, Mustard, I'm not really too fond of. Meaning, I'm not too familiar with, so I can't really say that. He's definitely gotten a lot of play or whatever like that, but I can't really tell off of my recollection of how of how great he is or whatever like that. But those are just to name a few. So we can't just keep mentioning Kanye West as this, producer that just stands in this field alone or whatever like that. Especially considering that he's not always working alone on his stuff. That's another thing that kind of soured my taste for him, because it's just like, you could get the fame and the credit and all of that stuff, but like, don't just say, oh yeah, I was just, like, don't make it seem like you was just doing the shit by yourself. Like, when you look at album credits and stuff like that, and you get a chance to see, oh yeah, he was in the studio with this guy and he was in the studio with this guy or whatever like that, I'm like, all right, cool. So it's not just him. It's, you have all of these layers and all of these people in there helping you. So I can't just say, oh yeah, he's a genius, of his own. No, he's with people. He's, being helped. And I know that that's not uncommon. So don't kill me for that. But just know that he's just not going to get, the credit by himself. But anyways, he had all of this talent that he was standing next to, and like, I didn't see anything from it. Like, we had the my beautiful twisted dark fantasy. Is that it's like so, is that how you pronounce it, or is it? Anyways, yeah, we had that. What other, like, there was a couple of collective albums that that he had or whatever. But as far as like, solo not debuts, but solo albums or whatever from these artists, it's just like, how the hell did it not pan out to be one of the biggest one of the biggest music companies ever, when you have that type of lineup? Like, and not only that type of lineup, but it's just like, it's so diverse. You have lyricists, you have drug dealer lyricists, you have trap lyricists, you have singers, you have conscious niggas. Like, you have all of these different talents to your disposal, and it don't go anywhere. And the saddest thing about it is the fact that it's because he imploded on himself. Like, you had all of that happen, and I mean, you had all of this lined up, and your talent's kind of, I mean, I'm pretty sure your talent's like, hey, what we doing, boss? What's going on? Yada yada yada. And he's talking about, Donald Trump is, I don't like Donald Trump. I just like the person Donald Trump. I was like, what? And slavery is a choice and stupid shit like that. So it's like, yeah, your CEO is wilding the fuck out. And, as an artist, I could imagine you're just like, so am I just going to be making albums on my own? Okay. I mean, just checking, because I can't do this shit much longer. So it was really sad to see how things shaped up. And I know Pusha T took on the role as the operating CEO. I don't know if that's still in place or not, but it was sad to see stuff like that shape out. And I could only hope that, some extent, he gets his shit together or whatever. But I honestly don't see it. I don't see it happening. I hope it happens, but I don't see it happening, because, to be honest, every person, and this is just my opinion, okay, I don't really care if you disagree or not, but every one male, but black male, that have ever come in contact with that Kardashian family has ended up fucking their career up, or fucking up in general. So it's just how, like, that, it's just that's just such a disgusting ass pattern, And once I saw that Kanye was with Kim, I was just like, oh shit, they got another one. That's all it is. They got another one. And that's kind of That's kind of just a matter of, it's not a matter of if they're gonna, gonna lose their shit. It's more a matter of when and how, so it's really sad to see stuff like that. So when it comes to digital inking, I like to mess around with different brushes and stuff like that. Right now, I'm working with a rough brush with a. I actually changed the I changed the settings of it so that I could get a little roughness to the edge of it as well. So that's actually an after it's kind of like an afterthought. It didn't come with the brush specifically, although the shape of the brush is rough. While you start drawing with it, start to smoothen out. But I changed the features that allowed it to give me a little bit of those rough edges. Now, this is just pure experimentation. You know, next drawing I could do something completely different, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter, but I'm not married to it yet, because when it comes to these things, my inking is important. My inking is it's kind of like the plate. No, I wouldn't say the plate. Sure, let's just say the plate. I don't know why, but let's just say the plate. But my biggest focus is the coloring part, because that's the part that really brings my stuff to life. I like to make sure that it gives it some my coloring in my painting. I like to give it some type of weight, so that even even in the grayscale, it could still look very very lively. All right, so more on what happened between Meg and Tori. Tori recently came out with a vague breakdown of his side of the story. I still don't have a solid picture of what happened, but it's more pieces, because what I had before just didn't make sense. He mentioned that I think it was Rock Nation basically tried to keep him from coming out about it or whatever. So I guess that's why it's still relatively vague, because he's not giving any specifics, but he kind of rambles on for a good minute about how like how it seemed to happen or whatever like that. But I'm just like, all right, but not like neither one of you all are giving me straight up answers, because it's like it seemed like it's a little bit of wrong on both sides, but for the most part it's still something that's still like up in the air on what exactly happened. Okay, I'm not saying who's guilty and who's not guilty, but just what the fuck happened. How did that happen? Like I refuse to believe that someone y'all got in an argument, or y'all, whatever situation capacity that y'all are in, and some motherfucker just pulls out a gun and just shoots you. That's that's very hard to believe. Even if we weren't on great terms or whatever like that. Like, if we weren't on great terms and you know things got heated to that point or whatever like that, it would have been a completely different story. Like, I refuse to believe that y'all was out on a date, or y'all was talking or whatever like that, fucking each other, or whatever the hell capacity y'all knew each other, and all of a sudden it just blow. Y'all got in an argument, and then blow, shot you in the foot. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. But this is just a brief update. Tory did finally come out and say something. It's I'm still a little lost about it or whatever, unless he said something since that last video that he made. But it's still up in the air. I mean, I don't care about it to some extent, whatever, but it's still something that's just like, this is something that happened to two stars. Meg is severely bigger than greatly bigger than Tory, figuratively and literally, but as well, like, when you have a star, I mean, when you have a not only a star but like a rising star like that, media don't let shit like that just go. Like, let you have some type of drama, especially some type of drama that would make you seem make you seem like look like I'm sorry, especially some drama that would put you in a positive light in comparison to someone else, or in comparison to what some people may claim you to be. I know the media eats that stuff up, but the question is just like, why the hell have everything been so quiet? So it's still something there that I'm like, okay, something's there that I mean, hell, maybe y'all could put the pieces together, but I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing what's I'm not seeing the missing piece, but something is there. Something is definitely there. All right, so the first step of the coloring process, I also call it the value process, is you apply the values to the to the image that you just decide to that you drew out. I like to start with a medium tone gray gray layer. This would be kind of this would be the base for you to apply your values. Next layer, I'm doing darks. So I would take the same gray that I applied, and I would go a couple shades down, and then I will that would be for all my shadows, that would be for all my darks. Try to figure out the darkest part of your image, and that should be your darkest dark. If you haven't heard that before, then yes, welcome. Yeah, that is definitely a thing. The dark is dark, and that will give you a reference of how dark things should get and can get. Okay, so In this case, I would say her darkest dark is probably under her chin, considering that that is probably the most enclosed area. So that is where I like to keep the darkest areas. I mean, yeah, that's where I like to keep the darkest shade. And beyond that, it will just go lighter from there. I then add a separate layer, and this separate layer will now be my mid-tone values or my lighter values. So I would take the same shade, which is my base gray, and I would go a couple shades upward, or a is it a tint? Let's say, yeah, a couple tints upwards, so that I can, so now I can apply, lighting. This would be for, make sure that you decide or determine a light source. I'll be sure to do a video about light sources and, kind of figuring out lighting and stuff like that. Let me know if you all need a light source tutorial, because lighting is definitely like 80% of the game when it comes to this, because that gives your image a lot of depth, and it gives your image a lot of like I said earlier, a lot of weight. You're giving this image the idea that it's sitting inside a three-dimensional space. It's not on paper anymore. It's it's sitting inside a world that you could probably relate to. So I apply my highlights, and on a separate layer, you're going to see this in a little bit, I apply my my whites. So the whites can alter, I mean, the whites could change its layer order. Like you could change the layer order of the whites based on how you want to show them. I like to do I like to do a white layer under my colors, and I like to do a white layer over my colors. Those are two different layers though. Okay, so it's not just a layer that's copied and then paste on on a different layer. I like to have my highlights. I like to have my highlights under the color, to show this is how your image looks. This is how your image looks, at this is the lightest light, and then your peak highlights, shall I say, that's where you have your small glimmers. I mean, some small glimmers and streaks of light that you would have on parts of the body or parts of the skin, or maybe on some of the leather, based on how you're trying to show the image. So I'm now applying the way I like to do it. I've described this, in other videos, but I'm always wanted to describe the process. I have a separate layer where I just apply flat colors. Okay, everything's flat. I'm not adding any values or anything like that. I'm just applying the color where it's supposed to be. Where it's supposed to be assigned to. And once I'm done, I'm going to now go to the effects bar, or shall I say, yeah, the I guess you could say the effects bar up near the top where it says normal on your layer, on your layer menu, and you could click that, and that's where you get a huge myriad of options when it comes to different effects to give your your layer. So what my usual go-to is either applying a multiply to this to the color layer, or an overlay. Overlay sometimes lighten the color, so it solely depends on what look you're trying to go for when it comes to your image. But so you have multiply, overlay, you have hard light, which is is close to, it's kind of close to a multiply, but it doesn't darken the colors the way that multiply does. And soft light, it keeps your colors very, very light. But those are just different options. You could always play with more. I'm not gonna, screen is also another, pretty decent one, depending on what you're going for. But that's usually how that's how I sped up a lot of my processes, is by just simply applying all of these values on a separate layer. And then when it comes to coloring, I could just color those in flats, because if I were to go through each color and then apply shades, highlights, and all of that stuff to each color, it would take me a lot longer than this. And believe me, I've done it before, so that's why I'm so happy with this process versus my previous process. It's a lot simpler and it's a lot more methodical. You can always fix something by just simply going to that layer versus having to change something completely different. But yeah, that's a really good process to work with if you haven't tried it yet. All right, Bowsette, you looking a little different. So my client decided that he wanted me to change the face. And usually I usually run the progress past the client a couple times, before things get this far. I made the mistake of because I'm cool with this guy or whatever, but I made the mistake of thinking that he's like kind of viewing it not like a client to artist basis. So I didn't run it past him, despite the fact that he saw me draw the original drawing. So yeah, I should have ran it past him before I went as far as inking and coloring the face. But yeah, he requested a ahigao face. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it. I'm pretty sure I butchered it, but if you all could help me out with that, that would be great. So he requested an ahigao face, and I'm familiar with how it looks, but I didn't know that that's what the name was. It looks like borderline, a little softcore porn, or hentai in this case, but that's what he requested. So I had to change it. Now I am, I'm happy with the results, to be honest, but it does suck having to do all of that work just to completely erase a good portion of it. So, name an anime that you consider overrated. Everyone else loves the shit, but you consider overrated. Mine, mine is Hunter x Hunter. I've been told by a bunch of nerd friends, that Hunter x Hunter is the absolute shit. They love Hunter x Hunter because of X, Y, and Z, and Gon is a badass, and yada, yada, yada. But, Killua is, absolute badass as well, or whatever. But I gave it a shot. I think I've gave it maybe 2 seasons, and I just couldn't do it. The entire so whenever, especially in anime, is whenever they tell these stories, they usually set it up. You clearly know who the main character is, and the main character in at least 80% of the chances is going to be a young male who they follow a recipe. They follow a format. Young male who's either like they're one of the two things. They're either um they're stupidly optimistic about everything, and they don't have any really negative viewpoints or anything, or they're like a loudmouth asshole that don't mind getting their butt whooped a couple of times before they decide to get better at something. That's usually one of the two. But in Hunter x Hunter, the entire time I was like, what makes this kid special? Every freaking episode, it was usually an old head too, that was saying, oh, this kid is special. Oh yeah, that's yada 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 son. And I'm like, okay, well, who's like what makes that guy special? So every episode, it was someone reaffirming that this kid is special, but they're not showing me why he's special. The entire time I was just like, okay, maybe he's gonna do something crazy or something like that, or maybe he's going to reveal that he's that he's hiding some type of raw power and yada yada yada. And and you could say that they didn't show it yet, but if you're going to start the narrative of this kid is special from day one, you as a writer, you should show some type of like help the audience figure out what makes this motherfucker special. Because Killua, I could say, okay, yeah, Killua is he's definitely on a certain level, and I'm like, okay, Killua is gonna be a badass. I could see that. He's a badass now, so I could see that when he like when we're 6 seasons in or whatever. But Gon's supposed to be the main freaking character. The entire time I'm just like, why am I still watching this kid? Because he still has not shown me what makes him the main character of this show. Now, if the joke is that the main character is not the main character of the show, or the main character is not the best part of the show or whatever, then joke's on me. But the entire time I'm just like, okay, why am I focusing on this guy? Like, Killua had a very interesting story, at least from the time that I saw. So I was invested, but they kept trying to make it, seem like, well, yeah, Killua is dope, but Gon is the reason why you're here. So we're going to keep focusing on Gon. And I was like, okay, but this motherfucker's not special to me. He's not interesting. He's just a kid with Dragon Ball Z hair. That's it. And he had a fishing rod at the beginning, which what the hell was that about? But yeah, drop a very overrated anime in the comments below. Well, there you have it, folks. Another successful speed drawing done for the books. Thank you for joining me. Any any requests, leave it in the comments below. Also follow me on Instagram, Fauntroy Comics, and I'm pretty responsive on there. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me. So yeah, see you on the next one.